Welcome back to our devotion on God's wisdom in the book of Proverbs. As James says, if we lack wisdom, we should ask God because he gives wisdom generously. If we are asking, though, we must do what we can from our side, and that starts by reading and practicing what has been written in the book of Proverbs. Hi, I'm Tracy with KOGmissions.com, and welcome to Simple Bible Truth. I hope to encourage you in your faith and inspire you to seek truth, to love God, and to obey Jesus. Proverbs 1 told us that the beginning of wisdom is fearing God and listening to his instruction and his teaching. So let's jump into Proverbs 2 now and try to grow in a little bit more wisdom and see how we can apply that to our life. This whole chapter of Proverbs is full of simple wisdom. So we are just going to read through it, and I will make a few comments as we go. My child, if you receive my words and store up my commands inside yourself by making your ear attentive to wisdom and by turning your heart to understanding, indeed, if you call out for discernment, shout loudly for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as a hidden treasure, then you will understand how to fear the Lord, and you will discover knowledge about God. So here we see that we need to do our part by receiving God's words. We need to read them, hear them, and receive them and store them up inside of ourselves. That means put them in your memory, put them in your heart, in your mind, and live by them. Make your ear attentive to wisdom. So when you read the things in Proverbs and other places in the Bible, you're attentive to what you're reading and you are turning your heart to understanding. You are making the choice to listen to what is being said and you receive it as being from God and true, and you're making those changes in your life as you need to. You need to call out for discernment, it says. So that means we need to be seeking it. We need to be desiring it, not just going about life as if it doesn't matter. We need to shout loudly for understanding. So we're taking an active role in trying to find and understand the discernment and understanding of what God has said. And he gives us that, as we mentioned in James. If we ask him, he will, but we need to be seeking it. And it says that if you seek it like silver and you search for it like a hidden treasure. So we need to be doing this, not just in a flippant way of you open it up and read a few verses and say, didn't get much out of that. We need to be digging into it and really receiving what is written there and applying it to our lives. And it says that if we do this, then we will understand how to fear the Lord. We saw in Proverbs 1 that the beginning of wisdom is fearing God. And it says that you will discover the knowledge about God when you understand the fear of the Lord. And so we need to receive his words. We need to seek his wisdom and understanding what he says. And we need to be attentive to it, pay attention to it, do something with it. Verse 6 goes on to say, the Lord gives wisdom. So we need to recognize this comes from God. And from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. So we should be, again, attentive to what he's saying if we want to receive his knowledge and have understanding in what he's saying. Verse 7 says that he stores up effective counsel for the upright. And it is like a shield for those who live with integrity, to guard the path of the righteous, to protect the way of his pious ones. So in this, we can pull out a few bits of wisdom that, again, God gives wisdom. It's from his mouth that it comes, and that he stores this effective counsel up. Direction for us, how to live, what to do for the upright. We need to choose to be upright, to be in right relation with him. And it says to live with integrity. That's our choice, if we live with integrity or not. And if we do, he is a shield for us who live with integrity. And he guards the paths of the righteous. If we're not righteous, he's not guarding our path. And I think this is twofold. Obviously, if we are a Christian, Jesus is the one who made us righteous. We cannot be righteous on our own accord. It is all him who made us righteous and made that available to us to be righteous in God's eyes. But we do have a part in this too. We need to choose to walk on that path. We need to choose to follow him. Jesus said to follow me. He didn't just say to accept me. He said, follow me. And so when we follow him, we will be following his righteous life. And it says it protects the way of his pious ones. Again, that's something on our side. We still have a choice. of what we do and what we don't do. Reading on with verse 9, then you will understand righteousness and justice and equity every good way, for wisdom will enter your heart and moral knowledge will be attractive to you. Discretion will protect you. Understanding will guard you to deliver you from the way of the wicked. And we'll stop there for a second, because if we want to have this understanding and righteousness and justice and equity in every good way, and we want wisdom to enter our heart and moral knowledge to be attractive to us, and discretion to have that to protect us, and understanding guard us, and to be delivered from the way of the wicked, we need to consider what we just read in the first part of this chapter, because we have to receive his words. We need to store up his commands in us, pay attention to his wisdom, turn our hearts to understanding, call out for discernment, search for his understanding like silver and hidden treasure, because then we will know the fear of the Lord. Then we will have his knowledge and understanding. And then he will be a shield for us if we choose to have integrity and walk on the path of righteousness. So if we do those things, it says that then we will have moral knowledge be attractive to us. We're going to desire it. We're going to rejoice in it, in his knowledge. It's not going to be repulsive to us or difficult for us to follow, because we're going to have that discretion and discernment. And when we have that, because we have sought for these things, as it said previously, then that wisdom will protect us. It will give us understanding, and then that will guard us. It will help us to live as God desires us to live. It says it will deliver you from the way of the wicked. So we need to have his understanding and his wisdom if we want to be delivered from the way of the wicked. It says, from those speaking perversity, those who leave the upright paths and walk in dark ways, who delight in doing evil and rejoice in perverse evil, whose paths are morally crooked and are devious in their ways. And so if we do not want to follow those ways, because that will put us on a different path, not on God's path, it will put us on a dark path. And we will not be on the path of the upright. We will be on the path of evil and those who are morally crooked. So there are two paths. And if we want to be delivered from the way of the wicked, the path of the wicked, we need to choose to be on the path of the righteous. And in order to stay on that path, we need God's wisdom and we need his help, because we can't do it on our own. It goes on to say that it will deliver you from the adulterous woman, from the loose woman who has flattered you with her words, who leaves the husband of her younger days and has ignored her marriage covenant made before God. For she has set her house by death and her paths by the place of the departed spirits. None who go to her will return, nor will they reach the paths of life. So if we have God's wisdom, it will help to protect us. Even if there's a woman or any other temptation that comes your way, that you will be delivered if you keep your focus on what God has given you discernment to and wisdom. You won't go down that path. Even though she speaks to you and tempts you, any sin, you will turn away from it. And you will ignore that, just like she ignores her covenant made before God. Because we know that if we choose, anybody who chooses to follow this adulterous woman, who desires to follow those who speak perversity and who are not on the path of the upright, if you choose to walk on dark paths and dark ways, you're going to stumble and you're going to fall. Imagine walking down a road, especially in the woods where there are things laying all around. If it's dark, you're going to stumble and fall and you're going to get hurt. So we need to stay on the path that is lit by God's wisdom. And we should not go with those who delight in doing evil, because that will rub off on us. We'll start to enjoy it. And those who are morally crooked, we'll start following that crooked path too then, if we're hanging out with them. And so we need to choose the path that leads to life. It tells us in verse 19, none who go to her will return, nor will they reach the paths of life. So if you're on that dark path, you won't be on the path of life. And in verse 20, So you will walk in the way of good people and will keep on the paths of righteousness. So we have a choice. Do we want to be on that dark path that leads to death, or are we going to be on the path that is light that leads to life? And we need to walk in the way of good or righteous people and hang out with those people. So we're encouraged to stay on that path. And that will keep us, it says, on the path of righteousness, which is why fellowship with like-minded people is so important, to help keep us on that path of righteousness. Verses 21 and 22, and similarly to what we've saw back in Deuteronomy, where God says, do you want blessings and life or curses and death? So again, you have a choice. And so here, 21 and 22 say, for the upright will reside in the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be removed from the land, and the treacherous will be torn away from it. So this is the hope, the final hope that we have when Jesus returns and God's kingdom is established here on the earth. It isn't about going to heaven or burning in hell forever and ever when you die. We know, according to scripture, that when you're dead, and you're waiting for resurrection. Whether it'll be the first or second resurrection, that's a whole different topic. But we know that the upright here, it says, will reside in the land. They will live in the land. And we know that God is going to renew this earth. There's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And if we have integrity, we will remain on this earth. But if we choose the wicked path and the dark path, we will be removed from the land. And the treacherous will be torn away from it. So we have that choice. Do we want the blessings or the curses? Do we want life or death? Do we want to remain in this land, or do we want to be removed from it? So what a great promise we have, but also a very sobering warning. And I pray that we will always take his words seriously and walk in obedience. Next time, we're going to take a look at the wisdom in Proverbs chapter 3. Please like and subscribe. Click the bell so you won't miss the next devotion on Proverbs 3. And I hope to see you again soon. Until then, keep seeking truth, loving God, and obeying Jesus.